Hi BookTube, my name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with a tag video. And this is funny because just a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago, I did another tag. And in that video I said, I don't do tags very often, but here I am doing another one in, the same number of weeks. So I saw this one a couple weeks ago. Steve Donahue created this tag. I will of course leave link to his video, his original video in the description box below. This is the books and life tag. So this is a pretty easy one. It's just a bunch of questions. So I had in the back of my mind planned on doing this. And then what happened was, for those of you who have been watching the channel for a while, I had my second shot on Saturday night. Sunday I did film my weekly reads video. And then I spent the rest of Sunday pretty much sleeping. Monday I still felt really off. And then yesterday I was super busy at work. So this is actually Wednesday morning. I am filming this the same day that the video is going to go up. And I did not prepare. A, I wasn't feeling well, and B, I was super busy. So I didn't have time to prepare the anticipated reads video that I had originally wanted to do today. So I apologize for that, but I still wanted to get a video out for you guys. So then I remembered that I had wanted to do this video. And the fact is, it kind of works a little bit perfectly in a way, because this is a great tag to kind of get to know. Sorry, Gorn's here again. Pardon me. He's just crying as usual. He wants all the attention as soon as I turn on the camera. So anyway, I'm not going to lift him up again this time. What was I saying? Yeah, it works out perfectly. So it's one of those great tags where you're just kind of answering questions. You're not having to find a book that fits a certain prompt or anything at all like that. It's not that kind of a tag. It's more of a you as a reader, your books and your life tag. And the fact is that I am like less than 30 subscribers away from 3,000. So I have gained a lot of subscribers in the last little while, and I'm so grateful for that. So thank you to everyone who's new or who has been here for a long time. I appreciate all of you watching my videos. I really, truly do. So I thought that this would be kind of a fun tag to do, to kind of reintroduce myself to people who've been watching for a while, and to maybe introduce myself in a way to those who are new here. So yeah, so I've got my handy dandy Kindle Fire here with Steve's video pulled up. So I've got all of the questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So question number 1 is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a normal person and 10 being the late Harold Bloom, how much are books and reading a part of your life? They are huge. It's one of those things that since I was a kid, like for as long as I can remember, I have always been a reader. I have never not. I had points in my life where I wasn't reading as much. However, I always owned books. I always looked at books. I always, those times in my life where I wasn't reading as much, I was still reading. I would still have a book on the go. They're a part of my identity of who I am. And, I'm not just saying that lightly. Literally, if, you asked me to list, some of the things that I love, and like, my top loves of my life would be, my husband, my family, my cats, and my books. That's all I need, as long as I have access to books and a way to be able to read them, I'm happy. At the end of the day, I'm not one of those people who, we all dream about winning the lottery and what we would do with that kind of money. And my husband and I have joked, when the lottery gets up to 50, 60, 70 million dollars, it's like, we've got it spent in a way. But if I had enough money to just live comfortably and to be able to support my bookish habit, and even that you don't need a lot of money for, because libraries are great, and I would be happy. I would be absolutely happy. I don't think I could live without books. And I know that sounds super dramatic, but I don't think my life would be nearly as interesting, or nearly as, and not to say that I'm not interesting, but it's my escape. It's my drug of choice, if you will. So yeah, so it's been a part of my life my whole life. So 42 years. I have always had a book on me. I've always been reading a book, and I love it. I love it. Number 2, where does your personal library stand right now in relation to the rest of your life? Do you have more books now than you have ever had, or fewer? how has your library changed? So growing up, I always had like a very small little library. I remember in my childhood bedroom, I had this shelf that sit on the wall, and it maybe had 30 books in it, right? And as I got older, those books would change. Out came the childish books. In came like, into middle school or public school would be like the Babysitter's Club book with some Sweet Valley High, some Nancy Drew. As I got a bit older, you got the Anne Rice and books like that, the V.C. Andrews, which I read quite regularly. And then in my early 20s, when I moved out of my house, like when I moved on my own, one of the first things I bought was a bookshelf. And my goal was to get that bookshelf filled. And, so I was very, very excited about that. And then I moved a whole bunch of times over the course of about a decade, meeting my husband and so my library has expanded as I've gotten older. As I've gotten older and I've been working and having more disposable income to me, then I've been able to purchase what I want. I used to be a big library person, but now I do have a huge physical collection of books, which you can see behind me, along with a ridiculous digital library. Is that question in here? I'm trying to see. Yeah, so I've got a relatively large digital library as well. I thought there was a specific question about the amount. No, I guess maybe this one is it. So yeah, I have probably close to 2,000 physical books. There's these shelves here. That shelf right there is 3 deep, which this is a new bookshelf right here. So I'm slowly moving these over. That comes up in another question. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I am slowly starting to fill that bookcase. Nothing's organized right now. Again, I'll talk about that in a minute. And then I have another bookshelf right here beside me that you can't see. So eventually what I want to do is to clean this one off and move the stuff that's here over and put that bookshelf beside this new bookshelf. So like they'll all be right there in that corner. But anyway, yeah, so my library has grown substantially. And then with digital, it's grown even bigger because it is so easy. And oftentimes because I am a sale hunter for digital book sales, that I get a lot of stuff cheap or free. So I can actually pinpoint it was 11 years ago this coming Saturday, so the 24th of July, will be my 11-year wedding anniversary. And that week, my husband and I went to Peterborough, which is just north of Toronto, for our honeymoon. We spent a week up in like cottage country, and we were in a hotel and all those things. And we went shopping a couple times, and we landed in Chapters Indigo one day, and they had just brought out the Kobo. It was brand new 11 years ago. Like it was like first generation. And I think it was something like $200. And my husband and I bought each other one as a wedding gift. So that was my first e-reader, was 11 years ago. And, I have not looked back since. I have owned dozens of e-readers in that amount of time, and I love them. My digital library through Amazon is just shy of 1,500 books. My Kobo library is about 300 because I stepped away from Kobo for a while and then went to Amazon, and then now I'm kind of doing both. I have both. And also I have a extensive digital library through the Harlequin app of probably just shy of 400 books over there. So I have a lot of books in my physical library, or in my library, both physical and digital. Question number 3, take a mental step back and ask yourself, where are you most likely, what is the most likely first bookish impression a newcomer would have of your home? So, if, we had somebody visiting. So the thing is that this is my home, but it's not my home. Let me explain. For those of you who've been watching the channel for a while, So last year, like everybody else, last year was a bit of a hell year. It was a horrific year for a lot of reasons. Outside of COVID, for me personally, in January of 2020, I lost my dad to cancer. And it's been, 18 months, and it still doesn't seem real to me. There are still times that I think that he's going to, be in the garage when I go outside or come home in the car or something like that. So anyway, my dad passed in January. So in February, when COVID hit, I had to leave my job. I lost my job because the company I was working for refused to make provisions for the fact that my cardiologist, because I do have a congenital heart condition, I was extremely high risk. refused to make any sort of provision for me to allow me to work from home. The ability was there. They just didn't want to do it. So I ended up leaving that job. They let me go. I left. It was a thing. I lost my job, which a lot of people did due to COVID, to be fair. So anyway, I was out of work, and it was in April, I think, late March, early April, that my mom was living here in the house alone, and she didn't want to sell because this is her home, and her garden and her lawn and her her home, her stuff. So we talked about it, and my husband and I, because I was out of work and rent's expensive, we moved in with her. So this is my childhood home. Where I'm living now is I'm living back in my childhood home. We live with my mother, yes. I am not at all ashamed to admit that. I'm 42 years old and I'm living at home with my mother. It's fine. It's fine. It was a bit of an adjustment period, but like I was saying, to be fair, so this isn't our place. If it was, it would be different. But like my husband has stuff in his toys, his Star Wars collections in the basement. If he heard me saying that, he'd be mad at me. And then we kind of have the upstairs here. Our bedroom's over there in the next room, and then I've got this room. So essentially, if you walked into this house, you wouldn't realize that someone who is as bookish as I am lived here until you came up here. There's actually a sign on that door right there that my husband made me that says Sarah's book room. So this is kind of like, if you walked into here, yes, absolutely, you would have the impression that I love books. And I mean, I've been working from home since earlier this year because, again, like the second and third wave and stuff like that of COVID in Ontario. And I've had to do some Zoom meetings with people. And as soon as this is what they're seeing on Zoom is what you guys are seeing. So immediately everybody's like, oh, clearly you like to read. I'm like, yes, I do. So a lot of people, once they see this room, the first impression is clearly a reader lives here. So question number 4, how often, if ever, do you clean or reorganize your books? So right now I am doing a massive reorganization. I cleaned not only digitally, but physically. So I have this incessant need that everything needs to be organized with my books. I need to have it all organized. I need to know what I own. I need to know what I've read. And Goodreads is great for that. Don't get me wrong, I love Goodreads. But I have this fear, and I mean, maybe it's irrational, maybe it's not. What happens if one day Goodreads just shuts down? Then what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So essentially, I have backups, and I have spreadsheets of what I own and what I've read and all of those things. So earlier this year, I actually kind of cleaned everything off of Goodreads except for what I've read, because I had a lot of stuff on there anything that I mark on Goodreads as to be read is a book I own either physically or digitally. So I cleaned all that off, and now I'm slowly re-adding everything back, and I'm making sure it's all tagged properly where it's located, whether it's a Kindle edition, whether it's a physical edition, whether I have it on the Gloss app from Harlequin, wherever I can physically or digitally put my hands on that book, I have that listed on Goodreads, okay? So right now, along with these, is that I am reorganizing these shelves. So I got the new bookcase earlier this week, and what I'm doing is slowly grabbing books off of these shelves, cataloging them in both Goodreads and on my spreadsheets. Yes, spreadsheets, plural. And then I am putting them on the shelf. So then once I get everything cataloged, everything else, they're all going to come back off the shelf again, and they're going to be properly organized. Meaning, for my category romance books, which is the bulk of that collection, there's only this one bookshelf here that is non-Harlequin. So everything else is category romance. Most of it, 99% of it, is Harlequin. I'm going to organize it based on what series it is, and then what number in the series it is. And I'm hoping, my goal was by the end of the year to have this done. It's a massive undertaking, and I do work full time, so I don't have a lot of time to devote to doing it. But when I can spare some time, I'm doing it. And then with my Kindle library and my Kobo library, I am literally going through everything I own on Kindle, and I am marking it on Goodreads, and making sure it's sitting on my Kobo app, not my app, my Kobo, my Kindle Oasis, and my Kobo e-reader. I'm going to be doing the same with that afterwards. So yeah, being organized this way makes me so happy. It really, really does. I am huge on getting these books organized. It just makes me happy. I don't know how else to explain it. So I am enjoying doing this. But typically after this is all done, generally what the case would be is that I do have a book cart right there. So what happens is, like, over the course of a month, as I get new books or used books at the thrift store and stuff like that, I will put them in my book cart. And then about once a month or so, then I will organize those into the shelf. That's my end goal going forward, to be able to do that. So yeah, but this big organization is going to take me some time, and it's a work in progress, and I'm happy to do it. It really does make me happy. If I could have a job organizing people's libraries, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Give me access to everything that you have on your Kindle. I will create you a spreadsheet. And I would love to do that for a living. I would absolutely love to do that for a living. I just created a new job right here. Number 5, on average, how many books do you acquire in a given week? So as I mentioned in my last Friday Reads video, I am trying not to buy as many books, although I am off work tomorrow and Friday for a little extended weekend. I may hit up a couple thrift stores. It's fine. It's fine. You know, my bigger thing is spending this ridiculous amount of money on new books. I just can't justify the price of a brand new book, especially a digital copy. So, you know, on average, though, if you really think about it, probably 5 to 10 new books, or 5 to 10 new to me books a week, whether they're new or used, or copies like eGalley copies from NetGalley, stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say about 5 to 10 a week. Number 6, what song is your current earworm? Oh my gosh, I forgot he had this question on here. I'm trying to think now. What song have I had in my head lately? Oh, I just heard it last night too. Well, the one that's been in an earworm for me for at least the past 4 years, surprisingly. Every now and then I'm in the mood for it. It's one of those songs that kind of just makes me happy and gets me pumped, is Delicate by Taylor Swift. I love that song. I really, really do. There's just something about that song with that, like, it starts off a bit slow and then it like increases in tempo. It's just one of those songs that just makes you happy. But really, for new music, I haven't been listening to a lot lately. I am a big country music fan. And actually, the song I've been listening to quite a bit lately is Marry Me by Thomas Rhett. I'll leave link to both Taylor Swift's video and Thomas Rhett's video in the description box below. And the reason for the Thomas Rhett song, it's an older song, not super old, but it's a few years old, is because I am actually working on my first book right now. And the premise of the book, in a roundabout way, is based off of the plot, if you will, in that song. And I think that's why I love country music so much, is because they truly do tell a story. So I'm kind of working on something, so I've been listening to the song quite a bit, and I guess, yeah, that would be my current earworm song. I do love music. I am a huge music buff. I have Spotify, but I love country. But lately, over the last year or so, what I've really been getting into is indie pop and indie folk music. There is a guy here on YouTube, I'll leave link to his channel. It's Alex Rainbird Music, and he puts out these monthly playlists of like 10 or 12 songs, and they're all indie artists. And there's 2 different playlists every month. One is like your alt and rock, and the other one is the pop and folk, which I am more the pop and folk and type music. And they're really good. It's really good. I have found some great bands. There's one that is one of my new favorites called Clouds and Thorns. They are so, so good. I absolutely love them. So highly recommend that you check that out if you're a music person. Number 7, what percentage of your self-control do you retain in a well-stocked bookshelf? It's not my self-control, it's my bank account. But for me, really, to go into a bookstore, okay, a new bookstore like Chapters Indigo or something like that, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll look at stuff. But set me loose in a thrift store, it's a totally different ballgame. And I could have a lot of fun in a good thrift store or a used bookstore. So the thrift stores around me, I'm a little bit annoyed at, because the Salvation Army has stopped doing their buy 4, get 1 free. But their books are like only $1.99. So that's not so hard to swallow. Value Village, which is the one I used to go to a lot, they anger me because they don't properly mark their books. And I had a whole rant on this in a vlog that I did recently, where I bought a book that was published in '79. It had a cover price of $2.25. And on the sign at Value Village, which is the same as Savers in the US, for anyone who is near a Savers, it says, like, you know, if the price of the book is this to this, you're going to pay this. So mine should have only cost me $1.99 for that book, but they charged me $4.49, and I didn't realize until I left the store. So clearly who was ever at the checkout doesn't care. So what they should do, this is just my opinion, is you can buy those little colored stickers, you know, like they mark them with like a sticker gun, and just mark. So if the book is a pink sticker, if the book is a yellow sticker, and I get it, people are going to take stuff off and move stuff. But some of them it's easy to tell. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got a hardcover book that should be a blue sticker, but someone brings it up to you with a white sticker, you know, oh, I don't know how that happened, you know, whatever. So like, are they really concerned with it? And the Harlequins, a lot of the cashiers don't know the Harlequin silhouette book should only be $1.99 each, but yet they don't know what those are. And if I try and point them out to them that, yes, this is in fact a Harlequin book, they kind of look at me and they're like, well, I don't see that, you know, or yeah, whatever, I'm going to charge you this much. So I'm a little annoyed at them, but there is this great used bookstore in North Oshawa, because I live outside of Toronto in Ajax, and Oshawa's like 2 cities over or 2 towns over. So it's about a 20-minute drive for me. It's called GNU Books. And if anyone else is in the area or is making their way out to the Durham region area in Ontario, it is phenomenal. It's a comic shop and a used bookstore, and they sell Harlequins, and all their books are half price. So you know, it's half the price of whatever's on the cover. But once the Harlequin books hit like 2 years old, like once their publication date is more than 2 years old, they go into these bins in the front of the store. And the first bin is where they go into the first bin. They are buy five for $4, I think it is. And then if they don't sell from there and that bin gets full, they get moved to the other bin, which is my favorite bin, which is it's 5 for $1.50. I could go crazy with that. That's cheaper than a chocolate bar, you guys. Like, come on. Anyway, I'm very rambly in this video. I do apologize, but this is clearly something I love talking about. Question number 8. Do you ever feel the need to take a break from books? If so, what form does it take? No. As I said earlier in the video, there have been times in my life where I'm not reading as much, and I definitely think that being here on BookTube has upped my reading substantially. I mean, on a given year prior to BookTube, I was maybe reading 50-ish books a year, which is really good. That's a fantastic amount of books. However, since being on BookTube, I'm now going over 200 a year. So clearly BookTube has upped my reading game. Now, I don't think it's so much of me trying to make sure I have content for you guys, like here's the books I'm reading, here's the books I'm finishing. More so the fact that I'm hearing about so many books and that I do watch a ton of BookTube and that it gets me excited. Like I'll watch some BookTube videos and like, gotta go read now, gotta go read something, you know, I want to read something. So it's really, really great for that. And I love it. I love being part of this community. And yeah, so no, I have never really truly taken a break from reading. I mean, like I said, on my honeymoon, my husband and I bought each other e-readers. You know, when I was packing for my honeymoon, I'm bringing books. The first thing I'm packing when I go on vacation is books. Or now, actually, it's my e-reader. Because I can bring all the books with me on my e-reader. So yeah, no, I don't ever feel the need to take a break. Because if it's something you love, you don't need to take a break. You know, like sometimes you might hit a point where you get burnt out. And I've had those points where other things are happening in your life. But I can tell you, when my father passed in January, so he died on the 15th of January. On the 16th of January, I didn't pick up a book at all that day. I was just so... No, I just didn't. We were family things and there were other things, and I hadn't slept the night before, so pretty much by the time all the family stuff was done that we had to do, I literally went home and crashed. I woke up the next day on the 17th of January and read, because that's what makes me happy. And he loved to read, and I think in a way, like every time I do something here, when I hit a subscriber count, Me and Bree doing this podcast, my first thought is Dad would be so happy. He would be so happy about this. And I think that's really where a lot of this comes from, is that I was such a daddy's girl. Like, him and I were like two peas in a pod. We are so similar to each other. And really, I'm keeping him alive by still continuing to read. He taught me and gave me this love of books, that this is something I'm continuing on throughout my life. And I know that would make him happy. I know I'm sorry to bring this up about this, but he was such an influential part in my reading life that I don't have one without the other, if that makes sense, So, yeah. 9, when you meet a new person, how long does it take to bring up books? It depends on the circumstance. So like, for example, I had my COVID shot last Saturday, and I had to go to a local high school and got it done there. So it was like a big mass vaccination clinic. I had an appointment booked, but still. So because it was a high school, they have these receptors in the high school where you can't get a cell phone signal. And that's for the students who have their cell phones, because they don't want them on their cell phones at school. They want them learning, right? So they've actually blocked cell phone signals within the school. So after I got the shot, you've got to sit in the gymnasium, and they have these chairs set up. So you're sitting in the chairs, and you've got to sit there for 15 minutes just to make sure you don't have an adverse reaction of any kind. Everybody around, I'm not even exaggerating, everyone around me in these chairs are getting frustrated and like, oh my God, I've got nothing to do. Oh my God, I'm so bored. Oh my God, I can't be on my phone. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a generation before cell phones. So, I know how to occupy myself if I have to wait for a few minutes. And guys, it was 15 minutes. Like, these people were acting like they were being forced to sit there for 18 hours without use of their cell phone. So out of my bag, I pull my Kobo and I start reading. And I'm like happy as a clam. No one's bugging me. No one's talking to me. I can read in peace. So there was a couple like volunteers who go around, and when people leave the seats, they would clean off the seat, like, sanitize it. So when somebody else finished, they could come and sit down. And the one girl had walked past me a couple times, and then she stopped and she's like, may I ask what you're reading? And we got into a conversation. So here's just a random person I'm probably never going to see again in my life. The first thing that she realized and knew about me is that I was a reader. That's pretty much how quick it is with most people. When I interviewed for my job that I have now, there was a question of, what do you do for fun? What's the first thing? I'm a reader. Next up, I also craft. I do knitting and I do cross stitch, but 100% I am a reader. So yeah, it's relatively quick, to be honest. And question number 10. Have you given any thought, made any provisions for your personal library after you croak? Oh, Steve, bringing it with the happy comments or the happy questions. No, I have not. But like a lot of, or I don't know if okay, so digitally, I don't think there's anything that can be done. Like Jeff Bezos has my money. Pretty much, I've made this comment about ebooks. You are renting them, you don't own them. So unless that changes in the next few years, that's the situation there. It is what it is. Now, with my physical library, I don't know, because I do have a number of collector's editions, like editions that would now be hard to find. So I would put something, now I don't have children. I'm not ever having children. So maybe my niece and nephew, I would say to them, in the will, guys, I'm really sorry to do this to you. However, here's my book collection. Some of them may be worth something. You might want to take some time to look through them before you toss them or sell them at a yard sale. But let's hope that's many, 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 many moons in the future. Let's hope it's my niece and nephew's kids who have, not that something's going to happen to them, but you know what I mean? Let's make that 60 years in the future. That would be brilliant. And the last question is, where did it go here? Whoopsie doopsie daisy. Sorry. There's Steve right now. Question number 11. Are you known among your friends and loved ones for your weird and probably unhealthy relationship with books? Yes, I am. Abso-freaking-lutely. I am the reader. I am that person. And it's funny because one of my best friends, we've been friends since the 2nd grade. She is not a reader at all. Not at all. She was that kid in school that you had to force to read the assigned work. I'm sure she's picked up a couple books for fun, but generally not so much. and she's one of my best friends, but I am and always have been the reader. You know, in high school on lunch, I would be leaning against my locker reading a book or sitting on the floor. You know, all of my friends would be sitting outside, for example, in like the spring or summer at school, and they'd all be like playing like kickball or, you know, just talking or laughing in a group, and there I'd be. That's me. That's me. I'm a bookworm. I'm a bookworm. That's me. It's who I am, and I'm unapologetically a bookworm. So anyway, guys, this video ran a lot longer than I intended, but I thank you so much for sitting down here and letting me ramble about this. It's my favorite topic, clearly. So let me go ahead, get this video edited and posted, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.